representing Congressman Ron Paul and Senate candidate here in New Jersey for Frank Lautenberg seat, Dr. Murray Sabrin.
My wife is getting very suspicious. I come to Woodbridge and I tell her I'm speaking. She says, oh, really? So thank you for being here today. Congressman Ron Paul is the most conservative candidate ever run for the presidency of the United States. He's so conservative he makes Ronald Reagan look like a liberal. If Ronald Reagan were alive today, he'd be endorsing Ron Paul. For the very simple reason, Congressman Ron Paul has never voted for a tax increase, has never voted for an unbalanced budget, has never voted to raid the Social Security Trust Fund, has never voted for any restrictions on the First Amendment, including regulating the Internet. He's never voted for any restrictions on our Second Amendment rights. He's never voted against our Fourth Amendment rights of search and seizure. He's never voted against the Ninth and Tenth Amendment. He's a Jeffersonian Republican. He wants to devolve power to the people and the states. That's what he's done in 10 terms in Congress. And he's the only candidate who understands the financial malaise, the economic conditions of our times. He's the only one who understands the negative consequences of the Federal Reserve. He's the only one speaking about how to restore Article 1, Section 8, where gold and silver would be the currency of the realm instead of the funny money that comes out of the Federal Reserve. Congressman Paul agreed with George Bush in 2000 that America should have a humble foreign policy with no nation building. He does not believe in preemptive war. He doesn't believe, as a good Christian, he believes in the just theory of war, that there must be an imminent threat to America before you can engage American troops. Congressman Paul believes that we do not need an income tax. Congressman Paul wants to return decision-making to families, individuals, and businesses, states, and localities. He's the only one talking about what's going to make America great in the 21st century by leading the Second American Revolution into the 21st century with candidates throughout the country so we can take back the country from the special interests that have taken us to where we are today, financial bankruptcy and military unsustainability around the world. Defender of health freedom. Unquestionable. He believes you have the right to take whatever nutritional supplements you need for your own health care. That's the relationship he wants to reestablish in this nation, the doctor-patient relationship. He doesn't want the HMOs running the health care. He doesn't want healthcare system. He doesn't want pharmaceutical companies running the healthcare, and he certainly doesn't want the government running the healthcare system. The dirty little secret in America today is more than 50% of our healthcare is already paid for by taxpayers through Medicare, Medicaid, and other programs. S-chip, for example, which I believe most of my Dr. Paul's opponents favor, which is another example of bringing more and more people into the federal web of making them dependent on the federal government for basic human needs. That has to be reversed. Dr. Paul is the only one talking about allowing young people to opt out of Medicare, allowing them to opt out of Social Security, so financial responsibility will go hand in hand with the Declaration of Independence. Thank you very much. Welfare benefits and all sorts of other benefits. And guess what? It affects property taxes here in New Jersey because the schools have to take them in. They get special programs, and that drives up property taxes here in New Jersey. So this is an issue that is national and local. Again, Congressman Paul is the only one that is not in favor of birthright citizenship. It's a very emotional problem, but the point is we have the rule of law. We should follow the rule of law. Until it's different, let's apply some common sense solutions to this issue. Criminals should be deported as quickly as possible. And let's have some common sense regarding the borders. They are so porous, you can drive divisions through. So I first met Congressman Paul 25 years ago in Washington, D.C. at a conference, and we've become pretty good friends since then. I've had the ability to call him up any time when I have a question when I was running for office, and he gave of his time generously. Ron Paul was called up during the Cuban Missile Crisis. I don't think there's anybody on stage here that may have been born during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, but I was a high school student. And I was with my good friend on Harrison Avenue in the Bronx, and we were talking about a possible mushroom cloud over New York City because of the Cuban Missile Crisis. And John Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev went eyeball to eyeball, and the fate of Western civilization hung on someone's decision whether to push that button to start the missiles. And guess what? It didn't happen. Because both understood if they pushed that button, thousands of missiles would be flying over the Arctic and hitting Russia and the United States. Peace through strength has been our doctrine. Containment has been our doctrine since World War II, and it's worked. The Soviet Union had 40,000 missiles pointed at us, and we had 40,000 missiles pointed at them. They went bankrupt because of a place called Afghanistan. They were involved for 10 years. The bodies came back. They printed up money to pay for it. And the mothers in Russia said, enough is enough. And the Soviet Union fell soon thereafter. We cannot afford to have the United States collapse because of what kind of nation will we be based upon our founding principles of freedom, limited government, and no foreign tangling alliances. That candidate is Ron Paul. Thank you very much. For 5 years during the Cuban Missile Crisis. He is not a pacifist. Let me reiterate that. He is not a pacifist. But he also does not believe in an American empire, because every empire for the last 2,000 years has crumbled. Every single one of them. Read the history from the Holy Roman Empire to the British Empire. They've all collapsed because of currency depreciation and moral decay. If you want a nation with currency collapse and moral decay, then the choice is very clear. Ron Paul will prevent this for the next generation and for the next century. The choice is clear in 2008.
www.gopusanj.com on a daily basis for all your political needs. And you can also submit commentary if there's something you want to get out there. You can send us an article that you wrote, and we'll put it up on the website. After I read the tally, the event is officially over. However, we have the room if you want to stay, talk to some of the candidate surrogates. I know that Murray Sabrin has something going on to the right of the banquet hall when this is over. Far right. When this is over. So I want to read the tally. We had 207 total votes. So I want to thank you all for coming again. In order of finish from bottom to the top: John McCain 2, Duncan Hunter 4, Rudy Giuliani 11, Mike Huckabee 15, Mitt Romney 22, Fred Thompson 27, Ron Paul 126.